This is the join as you go method, perfect for granny square blankets or squares that end in a granny square way. You can find the full tutorial, the full explanation on my blog at www.muchka.co.uk. And this blanket is one I designed for Cedar Hayfield, and the number is 10119. So you will start with one full square with the border, then you will join one side, then you will do another square, join with another side, then you will do another square and join another side, two sides, then three sides, then four sides, and so on and on and on. Here I have a corner to join. So this is the corner I want to join my square to. This is the square I'm working on now. And as you can see, I have made two sides already. And I have stopped halfway through my corner space. So in corner, we usually work on a granny square. We will work 3 trebles, 2 chains, and 3 trebles. What I'm going to do, I work my 3 trebles, no chain. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the corner chain space on my square on the opposite side. So what I'm going to do is join it with a slip stitch, and now I have to finish my corner space here. So I'm going to work my 3 trebles to finish off this space. So let me do that. 1, 2, and 3. So that's my 3 trebles. Okay, so you see I am already attached here to my corner space up on the opposite side and on my working square. So now what I have to do is slip stitch into the next chain space, followed by 3 trebles into the next chain space on my working square. So slip stitch, 3 trebles. So slip stitch into here. Oh, let me put that yarn at the back. That's the one. Slip stitch and 3 trebles into my next chain space on the square I'm working on. That's 1, 2, and 3. And let's see what that looks like. You see? So I have joined it here. So I've got a joint here, slip stitch, joint here. So now I'm going to slip stitch into the next chain space on the square opposite, followed by 3 trebles into the chain space on my working square. Now take into account that I'm using UK terminology, US that will be double crochets, but because I'm working in UK terminology is treble. So slip stitch, 3 trebles, slip stitch, 3 treble, slip stitch, and we will stop there and I will show you the rest. So let me finish that. So I'm gonna work, oops, yarn at the back, slip stitch, and 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3, followed by slip stitch into the next chain space, next 3 chain space on a square on the opposite side, followed by 3 trebles on my working square. 1, 2, and 3. Again, we're going to slip stitch into the next chain space on a square opposite. And now we come to our corner chain space. What we're going to do again, we're going to work half of this corner chain space. So we're going to work 3 trebles into it. 1, 2, and 3. And then what I want us to do, to join it nicely into the corner chain space, you see we've got a space from this side, corner space here, and corner space here. So we've got 3 corner spaces. What I usually do, I join it first with a slip stitch from the back to those first 2 corner chain spaces. Then I join it with a slip stitch and 1 chain to this corner chain space. The reason is because it will give me a nicer finish. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. So from the back, we're gonna go into the side chain spaces first, and then we're gonna grab the one in the middle. So we're gonna go into this chain space, into this chain space, grab your yarn, finish off your slip stitch as normal, and now we're gonna work chain space into the middle. We're gonna work a slip stitch into the middle chain space. So we're gonna go in, grab our yarn, pull it through, finish off the slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 1. And now we can finish off the corner of our square that we are working on. So we're gonna work 3 trebles into this space. 1, 2, and 3. Let me just show you how this looks so you have an idea. You see, the reason is I've done this because I just like the joint a lot better and it's more structured to me. If you wish, because when you're making a granny square, you will always put either 1 chain or 2 chains in between each space, and definitely 2 on the corner. When you're joining, you can do 1 chain then slip stitch. You can do that. I don't, because I don't like the stretch that it gives you. So now we need to finish joining our square. So we're going to slip stitch into this space, followed by 3 trebles into next 3 chain space on the square we are working, followed by slip stitch, 3 trebles, slip stitch, 3 trebles. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to slip stitch, followed by 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Oops. Followed by slip stitch into our next chain space, and then 3 trebles into our next 3 chain space on the square we are working. 1, 2, and 3. Followed by slip stitch into our next chain space, and then 3 trebles. And again slip stitch, followed by. So now we come to our end chain space. So I started my granny square with chain 5 at the beginning. So what I usually work at the end of the round is work 2 trebles here and slip stitch to my 3rd of the 5 chains. So I'm going to work 2 trebles as normal. 1, 2. So now what I'm going to do is slip stitch into my 3rd chain. 1, 2, 3. So that's my round finished, and then but I still need to join it to my last chain space on the opposite side, into my corner chain space. So I'm going to slip stitch into the corner chain space of the square I'm working on, followed by slip stitching into the corner space of the square on the opposite side. So I'm going to slip stitch those 2. There we go, and that's my joint finished. So let me show you how this looks. You see? So now you can continue. So you see, now I will add this one on. Actually, oh, this one. And on and on and on. And that's it. Another joining technique I absolutely adore is the flat slip stitch technique. It gives you a beautiful and flat seam. I have used this technique to join the squares in my border wood blanket. Start by joining your yarn into the corner spaces of your 2 squares. Oops, then make a little chain. In this technique, you will work into back loop of your stitches. What I find usually helps is holding them together with the wrong side facing each other, like so. So we will work into back loop of every single stitch. You must have your yarn in the middle of your work. So your yarn is in front of your hook. We will now work into the back loops of our stitches. We will also work above our working yarn, so we will move our hook from side to side but above our working yarn. So let me show you how it's done. So we're going to go into the first stitch, into the back loop of the first stitch on our square to the right. If I turn it around, this is my right square, this is my left square. Now move the hook above the working yarn into the next stitch, into the back loop of the next stitch on the square to our left. You have 3 loops on your hook. Grab your working yarn and pull it through all 3 of those stitches. Let's do that again. So above our working yarn, into the next stitch on the square to our right, that's the back loop. Move your hook above the working yarn and insert it into the back loop of the next stitch of our square to the left. 3 loops on a hook, yarn around the hook and pull it through all 3. Perfect. Let's do that again. So above our working yarn, into the next stitch on our square to the right, move your hook above the working yarn, into the next stitch on a square to our left. Okay, so we've got 3 loops on hook, yarn around the hook and pull it through all 3 of the stitches. Perfection. Let's do that one more time. So above our working yarn, into the back loop of our next stitch to the right, above the working yarn, into the next stitch on our square to the left, 3 loops on hook, yarn around the hook and pull it through all 3. Okay, and one more time and then I'll show you how wonderful it looks. So again, above the working yarn, into the next stitch, into the back loop of our stitch to our right, above the working yarn, into the back loop of our stitch, next stitch to the left, 3 loops on hook, yarn around the hook and pull it through all 3. You see, and I want to show you how fabulous it looks. It's a beautiful joint. It's nice and flat, you see, so it looks really nice at the back as well. Let me just show you properly what it looks like. So it looks really nice at the back as well. It's a really nice joint. It's very neat joint. It doesn't have any bulk to it. It's a lovely joint. I do like that joint a lot actually. It's my favorite one, I think. The last joint, it's the wonderful slip stitch joint. It's a very neat and very easy to do joint. I've used this joint in the cushion crochet along that I hosted. Now the West Yorkshire Spinners will be hosting it on the 11th of May. I also have used it on the Lisbon Tires blanket. So what you will do, you will hold, you also need yarn obviously, you will hold your 2 squares together with the wrong sides facing each other. You will join your yarn to your corner chain spaces. I always like to give it a little a little chain to lock it. There you go. So now what we will do, we will work into the two legs of the stitch, so both legs of our stitch, so the full V. Okay, so we will go into our first stitch, see, insert it into the two legs of the V, followed by the two legs of the V on the opposite side, so our full stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through all those stitches and pull it to the stitch on your hook. That's the first one. So now into the next one, so into the next stitch followed by the stitch on the opposite side. Grab the yarn, pull it through all those stitches, so immediately you basically slip stitching again here, so into both of the stitches, one on each square, pull your yarn, pull it through your working loop, and again into the first square, into the second square, grab it and pull it through. Let me do a few more so then I can show you what it looks like. It looks really nice actually. It's very simple, but it's very, very effective. I always find this joint very, very nice, especially if your edging is the same color and the joint as well. It kind of gives you a very nice effect actually. I mean if you use the same color to join as you would do on an edging. Let me show you what it looks like. Look how pretty it is. It's beautiful. See, it's very, very simple joint, but very, very effective. It looks really nice at the back as well. See, it's very nice at the back. Let me show you again from the front. Very pretty joint. Got a nice little sliver of grey here. It's beautiful, and it gives you a very pretty joint. You will find a full explanation for each of the techniques I have shown you on my blog. You can get that through my website, which is www.muchka.co.uk. Just go to my blog page and it will take you there. You will also find the link to my blog in my profile on Instagram or in the comments if you are watching this on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching and enjoy!